ladies and I'm going to start off. I'm going to start off with a disclaimer. Number one, I'm not a doctor. Number two, I'm not a medical technician. Everything that you see in this video is about my personal observations about foods in the Philippines compared to the same foods in America or the same names in America. And what I have discovered about the foods in the Philippines is going to sound fantastic, but in reality, it's pretty dark. So what I would attribute my observations to is the scenario of a canary in a coal mine, which is placed in a coal mine for a specific reason. There are certain gases when you are working underground that your nose cannot smell, and they will put you to sleep, and eventually you will cease to exist. So the canary in the coal mine is more susceptible to those gases, and they, in fact, let the miners know whether or not it's safe to breathe the air in the caves or mining tunnels that they're in. I happen to be a human canary in a coal mine, and my observations are going to be about the foods in the Philippines. Now, you can take this for what it's worth, but I have absolute proof from my own person that what I'm going to tell you about the foods in the Philippines is the truth. So let's start off with what the doctors will not tell you in the Philippines. When I did go, most of you know that last July I had to go to the hospital with an infection on my foot. Now, the infection on my foot progressively got worse until it was literally boiling underneath the skin, and it felt like it was boiling underneath the skin. And I went to 5 different doctors in 3 different hospitals, and not a single one of them could diagnose the problem. I took the full panel, what is known as the GI series, and the results came back normal. And there was nothing out of the ordinary in my blood or my urine. So, by process of elimination, I asked the doctors, could it be the foods that I eat in the Philippines? And they pretty much agreed that it was nothing in the food in the Philippines. Now, either they are ignorant of the truth or they're hiding the truth. I don't know which one it is. However, from my personal observations, by changing my eating habits and changing my entire diet, the infection went away. Now, there's a fella on my live stream called Clark Henderson, and he's a doctor. And he recently mentioned in the comment section that it's a compartmentalized bacteriological infection, because only in 3 places on my foot and my leg does the wounds refuse to heal. Anywhere else that I get scratched, or my foot gets ripped apart, or my leg gets torn up by thorns in a forest, heals immediately, normally. So what it is that I believe is that the welding rod I was using, called Fuji welding rod, made in China, actually there were 4 infectious places that the welding rod touched. The spatter from the welding hit my left leg in one place, and it hit my right leg in the same place just below the kneecap, and then in 2 places on my foot. Confirming that it was the welding rod, Daisy May was doing some welding, and the spatter hit her in the ankle. And she has the exact same, or she had the exact same wound that lasted for 4 months, and then it went away. Now, I would attribute that to her age and the youth of her body's immune system. So digressing back, any wound I get on my foot or legs, ankles, anything like that heals instantly or normally. However, where the Fuji welding rod hit the spatter hit my foot and ankle and foot, it will not heal. Now it's 13 months. So let me tell you, what I asked the doctors was, could it be the foods in the Philippines? And pretty much they were in agreement that it was nothing to do with the food. Now, like I said, either they're ignorant of the facts or they're hiding the truth. So I'm going to tell you what happened when I went to New York and changed what I ate. No, excuse me. I did not change what I ate. I ate what I ate normally in the Philippines, and I even ate more of it. Wounds healed up. So starting from last July of 2018, these wounds refused to heal up and got progressively worse. I went to 5 different doctors in 3 different hospitals. I did a full panel, what they call the GI series. Do not have diabetes. I do not have high glucose. I do not have high blood pressure, to make that clear. And now YouTube has decided that once again, my subject matter is not worth publishing. So they put your connection is unstable. Wait while we try to reconnect. This is wonderful. All right, so it says I am reconnected. YouTube, this is the probably the 12th attempt at making this video. Certain words in certain videos and certain word phrases trigger their algorithms to destroy my ability to live stream. Be that as it may, there may or may not be people watching. I'm going to have to go to my tablet and ask you if you can see and hear me, because I just went from 8 people watching to 7 people watching. And then I will continue with my dissertation on foods in the Philippines, what to eat and what not to eat. And then I'm going to show you the categories of foods and the containers that the foods come in the Philippines. This is really more aggravation than it's worth, to be honest. Okay, so let's go to my home page. Let's go to my channel, and let's see if you can hear me now. Okay, so 7 watching. It looks like, all right. Keep going. We can see and hear you fine, Michael. Thank you, Uncle Sam. All right, so after I'm done with this dissertation, I'm going to talk about the hate crew on YouTube. And my friend Gary of the Philippines Experience has now felt the wrath of the hate crew in the Philippines. So let's talk about the foods. Okay, so for 7 months, from July until February of 2000, from July of 2018 till February of 2019, my foot refused to heal normally. It just wouldn't heal. I used several different antibiotics that were given to me by the doctors. I used their advice in what to do with the wound, dressing it freshly every day. And I used several different types of creams and medications. As I previously said, and I think the video was cut short at some point, Clark Henderson is a doctor, and he called it a compartmentalized bacteriological infection. And that's the truth. It only occurs in the 4 places that the welding rod hit my foot. So February comes along, and on March 1st, I go to New York City with an open wound on my foot, about 1 5/8 circular, on my foot, a hole in my right shin, more than a quarter of an inch deep and a half-inch long, a hole in my left shin, approximately the same size, and a fourth hole in my right foot, about 3/8 of an inch, and down to where you could see the flesh. So all four wounds, you could see the flesh, but it didn't bleed. It kind of leaked a clear fluid. So I go to New York City and I eat the food from New York City stores. I ate an unequivocal amount of salami, which is loaded with salt. In 2 months, I ate 10 pounds of salami and I ate at least 10 pounds of cheese. In addition to that, I put Morton's crystal salt on everything. And each day, the wound healed up progressively until the wound went away. And by the time I had left New York on May 1st, all four wounds were completely healed. During the time I was in New York City, I had pizza, which is a staple that I have here in the Philippines. I ate untold amounts of chicken, not so much red meat, because I'm not much for a red meat, and I ate every type of junk food possible. And that was because I was experimenting on what they put in the junk food in the Philippines, because Daisy May has a propensity to like junk food, and if she's eating it, I'm eating it. Okay, so in 2 months in New York City, 60 days, all four wounds completely healed. The skin comes back to its normal elasticity from scar tissue when I was in the Philippines. All four wounds close up and the skin heals over all four wounds 100%. It's all gone. The infection is gone. I come back to the Philippines. I noticed in the Philippines after I got the wound, that if I ate salt, my ankles swelled up. I don't mean swelled up a little bit. They swelled up to the point where you couldn't bend your foot. Your foot looked like two inflated footballs met at the ankle. And no shoes that I had fit. I had to wear sandals. Okay, so the salt was definitely affecting my feet. So in New York City, I went and bought 3 different types of kosher salt and put salt on everything I ate, because I like salt. You need salt, and I enjoy the taste of salt in my food. And my ankles, legs, and feet went from being swelled up and looking like footballs back to the normal way feet should look. So I surmised that with 10 pounds of salami and 10 pounds of cheese, which are both loaded with salt, and eating the equivalent of probably 3 ounces of salt in America, swelling on my feet went down and the wounds healed up. I get back to the Philippines March 1st, and and in New York City, I only drank distilled water. I have a water distiller in New York. I brought it here. I only drank distilled water. So I changed one thing. I drank distilled water only, and I changed the type of salt I ate, but the foods I ate, chicken and salami and cheese and breads and everything else that I wanted to eat and enjoy eating, I went back to eating those things in the Philippines, including not drinking distilled water. I started drinking the filtered water out of the bottles. That was a mistake. I think that was the biggest mistake, because within about 10 or 12 days, the wounds that were healed up started to swell up from underneath the skin again. And when that happened, the wounds opened up again. And since that time, they got progressively worse until about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. What I did 2 or 3 weeks ago was I went back onto a distilled water only, and that's distilled water in the foods I eat. If I make pancit or bihon, I put the distilled water in those things. But I did bring back 50 pounds of salami and cheese from New York City. One type of cheese makes my feet swell up, I guess because there's something in it, but the other types of cheese that I have do not. So I have gone to the hospital to ask the doctor's opinion twice now, and both times the waiting for the hospital visit would have been 2 to 3 hours, and I just didn't have the time. So what I did was 3 weeks ago, I eliminated salt. This thing right here, this container of salt, I eliminated salt 100% from my diet. And I noticed that half the swelling in my ankles and my legs went away. Now, I was told this 6 years ago by a woman doctor who no longer works at Romero Hospital to stop eating salt. I did. She also told me do not eat anything that has the Filipino spices in it, what we call in America Goya spices, because it has MSG in it. So I stopped that. This is 6 years ago, and the swelling in my ankles went down. At that point, there was no infection. However, I don't eat anything with that in it. But, and this is a big but, when I got back from New York City, I started eating the chicken again. I like chicken. It's an inexpensive meat, and I enjoy its flavor, and Daisy loves the barbecue. Well, an hour after I would eat any chicken here, this is one of the foods I'm telling you has this Macahalo, which is something that would be considered poisonous. Any time I ate chicken, an hour later, my legs would swell up again to the size of footballs. So I had to pretty much eliminate chicken, which I did for the most part. Another thing that I had to eliminate was, of course, the water. The water here, after I would drink a quart of water, my ankles would swell up. So there has to be something in the water. Now, Mercury 3 gave me $35 to have my water tested from the bottles. And I haven't been able to duplicate the experiment with the white fuzzy stuff in the water. So I did try to do that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do this afternoon is set up a bottle of distilled water or a container of distilled water, and I'm going to use the water out of the tap. I'm going to see what kind of products are left in the residue water. So one thing I know for a fact that makes my wounds come back is the salt. And another thing I know for a fact that makes my feet swell up and the wounds swell up twice their normal size is the chicken. In addition to that, what we have here is a simple vinegar. It's called puti vinegar. If I drink this or put this on my food, my ankles and my legs swell up to where you can't see the muscle tone in the calf muscles anymore, nor can you see the veins or the bones on your feet. So something is also in this product that makes my feet swell up, but not as much as the next product. The next product is a super duper leg and foot sweller. This stuff here is called soy sauce. It's pure. I'm going to tell you, it's pure Macahalo. It's pure Macahalo. I could put only a quarter of a teaspoon of this soy sauce that's sold in the Philippines in any amount of food that I eat. So if I eat, let's just say I eat some fried pork. which does not make my feet swell up, because most of the pork you buy here is fed from, maybe the animal itself has the ability to filter out the Macahalo. This stuff here, a quarter of a teaspoon, if I add it to like my bihon or spaghetti or sauce or anything like this, you can't even recognize my feet. You couldn't say those are feet. That's how much of a difference it makes. From a quarter of a teaspoon, within an hour, my feet are swelled up from my ankles being a normal 11.5 inches around to 13 plus inches around. This stuff here. So this stuff is definitely got the Macahalo in it. The water that you drink out of the bottle that's filtered definitely has something in it that makes my feet swell. If I drink the tap water, well, I might as well bite the bullet. The tap water will make bleeding lesions on my entire head and scalp area, all throughout my scalp and underneath my arms and underneath my neck. Drinking the tap water here in the Philippines is suicide. And yet the Filipinos drink it, and it might account for their small stature and size of their bodies and their frames. I don't know. All I know is that if I was to go on drinking tap water out of the tap, I will get bleeding lesions in my head the size of a quarter or the size of a 50-cent piece. Now this one here is a bleeding lesion on my head. And what I did was I made the mistake a few weeks ago. Daisy and I bought several pounds of chicken, and I ate chicken for about 3 nights in a row. Barbecued chicken. I do know that Daisy put soy sauce in the chicken now, but I didn't know it at the time because I explained to Daisy that the soy sauce is affecting my ankles. So she only put a very small amount of soy sauce into the foods, but it did cause a bleeding lesion. I have not drank the tap water. Another product that absolutely, beyond any possible doubt, that makes my ankle swell up and gives me bleeding lesions is this particular product right here. The oil that they sell in the stores, if I fry with this oil, I get bleeding lesions in about 4 or 5 days after I use this oil. So fortunately, this is all the oil I have left. So I changed to what I call, olive oil. So in this bottle is olive oil. In this bottle is the regular, inexpensive per liter. I think it's 150 pesos per liter. So that would be about $3 per liter. This is 1,600 pesos a gallon. So it's about 400 pesos a liter. And this is olive oil. But it's not even olive oil anymore. It's not even virgin olive oil. It says virgin olive oil on the 1 gallon container, but it also says it has something else in it. Squeezed olive pits, something, I don't know. So now I have to buy pure virgin olive oil. That used to be 1,000 pesos when I got to the Philippines for a gallon. But now that's 2,000 pesos or $40 a gallon. So when what's left in this bottle is gone, I'm going to have to go to pure virgin olive oil. So you can see that it's starting to double the price of food because of these complications. Now, another thing that I'm going to tell you people that come to the Philippines is this stuff here is made by Nestle's Creamy Latte. Okay, Daisy loves this stuff, so we buy it in the package of about 15 packages in what they call a satchel, a little plastic bag. She loves this stuff, and it doesn't affect her in the least. If I add one of these to my normal freeze-dried coffee for 3 days, I break out in bleeding lesions. Now, I don't know what's in any of these products because I've looked at the product listing on the side, which, by the way, the Philippines doesn't necessarily require people to put all their products, what's inside their products. And in addition to that, the Food and Drug Administration of America and now the Philippines has changed the names of some of the more well-known products, such as MSG, to where they don't put the letters MSG in the foods anymore. What they do put in is seasoned spices or additional spices, and that means MSG. So this stuff here, in 3 days, one package of this will make my head and around my ears break out in bleeding lesions. Okay? Another product that I substituted for the puti vinegar is this. This works. This is a Capri, C-A-P-R-I, Capri red wine vinegar. However, let me tell you something. It might not seem like a lot of money to some people, but this little bottle was 200 pesos for a small amount. It's not much. I think it's like I'll tell you how much is in here. 500 milliliters. Okay, this is 200 pesos, and this product here is 125 pesos for a gallon. 125 pesos for a gallon. So there's 1,000 milliliters. I think. Well, it's 4 liters. There's so in other words, this product here that I can substitute for the suka. They call vinegar suka. Puti, yeah, it's suka. Okay, this is 5 times the price, but it eliminates the bleeding lesions. So what I've discovered, and this is the bottom line, is that they're putting something across the board in the food in the Philippines. So if you're planning, one more thing, pizza. Okay, now pizza and ketchup. Now this product comes from, well, it came from New York. Isabella tomatoes. I could empty this entire can into a plate, or well, a pot, when I make sauce, and consume the entire gallon of these tomatoes in 4 or 5 days. Nothing happens. If I buy the 3 cheese sauce or any other Del Monte sauce product in the Philippines and put even just 4 or 5 tablespoons of sauce on my spaghetti, I might as well just not even bother getting up off my chair because my feet are so swollen I can't walk. And the same thing for the Del Monte ketchup. So I eliminated ketchup, and I had to eliminate tomatoes that came from the Philippines. Not because of the tomatoes themselves. No, not because of the tomatoes, but because of some ingredient that they're putting in ketchup and tomato sauce. So these tomatoes came from, now, according to the restaurant that I go to called Giuseppe's in Alona Beach, these tomatoes come from Italy, but I bought them in New York. So they may have been imported from Italy to New York, and then I brought them to the Philippines because they do not sell this brand of tomatoes in any store in Bohol. Now, they might have it in Cebu, but then again, I'd have to purchase the cases and then pay, I think it's $1 per package to bring it back. Plus, I have to haul it So, and I will. Eventually, I'll just go there and buy more of this because I like tomato sauce. And I don't mind the extra expense, but it's an additional, let's see, 500 pesos round trip if you go open air cabin on the to-go fast boat, or 1,600 pesos, $30 if you go aircon on a rainy day. So it's 1,600 pesos plus another 100 pesos to get to and back from the boat by jeepney. But when you're coming back with 400 or 500 pounds of goods, which is what I would probably do, I'd probably bring back 6 or 7 cases and store up on ketchup and things like that. Heinz ketchup. The Del Monte ketchup, that's Macahalo. And I told you what Macahalo was in the beginning of this video. Macahalo is the Philippines word for a poisonous product. Could be anything. Anything can be Macahalo. You could have Macahalo breath. You could smell like Macahalo. You can eat something that's not edible. That's Macahalo. And something that's rotten, Macahalo. So this product is not, but every single tomato product in the Philippines in Bohol is Macahalo. So a lot of people like tomato sauce. So now instead of paying, and another interesting thing that they do not have in Bohol is, well, first of all, gallons. The word gallon doesn't exist anymore. That's gone from the vocabulary of the vernacular in the Philippines. And even it used to be, then it wasn't a gallon, then it was 4 liters. That's gone too. There's no such thing as 4-liter cans of tomatoes. What you have here right now is 102 ounces. So what they did was they reduced the normal size. Now, I worked in a restaurant on and off for 7 years. They reduced the size of the 1-gallon cans of tomato sauce, which are 128 ounces in America. Now, because I bought that in America, they reduced it from 128 ounces to 102 ounces. I can't tell you the price differential, but I would imagine they did that same thing that they did with almost all other processed foods, is they reduced the volume by 10% and they charged the same price. Instead of raising the price across the board, all their containers went from having 128 ounces in the to going down to 102 ounces in the container and keeping the same size container. Eventually, they'll make the container smaller because for right now, their industry is set up to have those size boxes and those size cans. And it looks good. It looks like you're buying a gallon. If I didn't even realize that it was 102 ounces, I bought 3 cases of 6 cans, put them in the cab, put them in storage, and then put them in a container and brought them here, and never realized I was buying 102 ounces of fluid weight or volume. So they tricked even me because the can was the same size, and without my glasses, I can't see those numbers. So they have like so many different ways to deceive the public. So digressing back to the doctors, I did go to the doctors 3 days ago. I went to the hospital. And one of the doctors that treated my foot originally, he was the first doctor. I'm not going to mention his name. He was doing something at the counter when I was finding out how long the wait would be. And I wanted to get one quick question in. I said to him, I still have that wound on my foot. And his response was, you're going to have to make an appointment. I said, you can't answer a simple question? He goes, if you make an appointment with me, I will talk with you. Now, this is a doctor that I gave, I don't know, because of his billing, it was 1,700 pesos for the first visit, and then there was about 3,000 pesos for the testing of the urine and the blood and the full panel, the GI series. And then I went back each day, so we're up to almost 5,000 pesos. Then I went back each day for a week and had them dress the wound at about 500 pesos per dressing. Started out at 160 the first day, and the doctor looked at the bill and changed it to 350. I think it was 350. And then the next time I went back, which was the next day for a fresh dressing, it was 500 pesos. Once they charged me 600 pesos, and I got upset about the bill, and they brought it back down to 500 pesos. So I probably went there for 7 days, or another 3,500 plus the 5,000. That's 8,500. And then I bought tubes of cream in the hospital for 400 pesos, or $8, when I could have bought them around the corner in the pharmacy around the corner for $5, less than $5. Okay, so I gave that hospital, in a matter of 10 days, over 10,000 pesos, and nothing helped my foot. Then, of course, I went to a different hospital. So when I asked the doctor, could it be the foods I'm eating? He goes, you'll have to make an appointment. He couldn't answer a simple question like that. No, because they don't care about you. They only care about the bottom line. So don't expect to come to the Philippines and not pay for information, which, by the way, turns out to be useless, because I already know the answer to the question. It was a rhetorical question. I know what has caused the inflammation and the continued infection on my legs. So 3 weeks ago, as I said, no soy sauce from the Philippines. However, in America, I probably went through 1.5 quarts of soy sauce in 2 months. I went through at least 3 ounces of Morton's crystal salt in 2 months. I went through 10 pounds of salami and 10 pounds of salted cheese in 2 months. I ate at least 15 pounds of chicken in 2 months. I ate ketchup on my hamburger meat when I went to the store and had a hamburger. No problem at all. And each day the wounds got progressively smaller. So for those of you who just came in, I got back to the Philippines, and I went back to drinking bottled water from the Philippines. Daisy used their salt because my container with my Morton salt did not arrive yet. She also put a little bit of soy sauce in. She minimized the soy sauce. And my completely 100% healed wounds, all 4 of them, every single one of them opened up again. It was as if it was the healing process in reverse. First, the leg swelled, then there was a tiny pinhole in my leg and foot, and then the wounds opened up. Not just small, but both the wounds on my shins opened up to 1/4 inch wide and 1/4 inch deep on the left shin. 1/4 inch wide, 1/2 inch long, and 1/4 inch deep on the right shin, and 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch wide on my foot, and 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch deep on my foot. They were different wounds. Only difference is I wasn't eating foods from New York. So when I tell you that there is something in the food in the Philippines that may not affect you, but it certainly affected me, just like the scenario of the canary in the coal mine. Does it affect everybody? No, it doesn't, but it did affect me. So there's something in the food here that is Macahalo, is poisonous to the human genome. And I don't know how to avoid it, because the foods I brought from America were less than 200 pounds of foods. And now I discovered that I ran out of spaghetti. I only brought a couple of pounds of spaghetti from America. Now I discovered when I eat the bihon, or there's bihon and there's canton. Now I had that 4 days ago. I ran out of spaghetti for the sauce. Now the bihon and the canton, that makes my feet swell up and my ankles swell up. So it's not just the water, it's not just the tomato paste, it's not just the suka or the soy sauce, it's not just any one product, it's everything, and including the chicken. I bought, instead of buying barbecue chickens that they sell, rotisserie barbecue chickens, which are a ridiculous price, by the way. They're 300 pesos now for $6 for a less than, it's like a 3/4 kilo finished product. $6 for a rotisserie chicken. That's an entire day's pay for a construction worker in the Philippines. Maybe they'll make, well, they make $1 an hour. So if they work 8 hours and they spend $6 on a chicken, it's almost an entire day's pay. But what they put inside the rotisserie chicken, that's what I thought the problem was. It's not. It goes even deeper than that. What they would put inside the rotisserie chicken is the Goya type seasoning that they put in the chicken, and they mix it in with lemongrass and garlic and some different salts. Okay, I thought it was that, but because that would make my feet swell up in 45 minutes to an hour to where they were unrecognizable as feet. So what did I do? I went to the store 2 weeks ago and I bought, oh God, I bought fresh chicken, which is not fresh, by the way. There is no such thing anymore as fresh chicken. Unless you buy a chicken on the street that was just slaughtered and plucked, you are not getting fresh chicken. So what I did was I bought 6 half-kilo bags of chicken breasts, and I like them barbecue. They make my feet swell up as if there was no difference between them and the rotisserie chicken. So now where do we go from here? We're going into the food that they feed the chicken at this point. So there is something in the chicken feed that's inside the chicken that makes my feet swell up. So I can no longer eat chicken. So why doesn't pork do that? Well, my best guess is that the baboy, or the pig, has some sort of filtering process, because pigs filter out a lot of Macahalo. They eat garbage. Pigs will eat rotten, decaying fish. They will eat rotten, decaying chicken parts. They will eat anything, and nothing happens to them. They have some sort of special stomach. So what I'm thinking is I can eat pork because the filtering system inside the body of the pig filters out whatever it is that's inside the other meat products that I consume in regards to chicken, poultry products. It doesn't matter whether I buy breasts or legs. And if I go to the, which I don't do anymore, but there's a particular place in Bohol that I love their chicken, their fried chicken. Well, 3 pieces of fried chicken, I can't even ride my bicycle. My ankles are just stiff. While I'm eating the chicken, my ankles are stiffening up. Why? Not because of what's in the chicken, but because of what's in the seasoning. So I went to, there are 4 other stores that sell fried chicken, and apparently they all use the same seasoning spice in their breadcrumb mixture. So you could either buy a piece of fried chicken and pull their skin off, which is probably a good idea anyway, but it's inside the chicken anyway as a seasoning. So now I can no longer eat fried chicken. Now, did it affect my ankles, all of this stuff? It did. It did. But they're still a little swollen. And I don't know what that's from. It could be from anything or everything. I don't eat candy. I don't eat their chocolate from the Philippines. I do not drink soda. I do not drink any type of fruit juice. I do, however, drink a mixture of freeze-dried coffee, or what we call instant coffee, and Milo. And Milo is like a cocoa product mixed in with some sort of sugar. Well, I have 6 bags of that. So when that's finished, I'll stop. I'll probably experiment with the coffee that they sell here. God, it's garbage. Oh, you might as well. You got to hold your nose and drink it down real quick without some sort of sweetening entity inside the coffee. And brewed coffee, forget about brewed coffee. You go to a restaurant and you want coffee, it's those 3-in-1 packets of Nestle's Quick. This stuff will make your ankles swell up in 45 minutes. Me. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but whatever it does to me, it's doing to you as well. It's not just doing something to me. It's doing it to you, but your body is fighting it off. My body is less effective at fighting off this type of poison because I had heavy metal poisoning from working with the copper chloride and arsenic pressure-treated lumber, to the point where the doctor said, you cannot use this product anymore. You will die. And that was after I got creosote poisoning. 6 of us got creosote poisoning. We all went to the hospital, and mine was the worst, to the point where I lost all my fingernails and all my toenails and most of the hair on my head. I lost that from creosote poisoning. But it wasn't creosote exactly. What it was creosoted pilings put in the ground in the 1870s in New York Harbor. And there was a chemical change in the creosote when it was buried for 200 years below the mud line. And when we cut it with the chainsaw, we were tipping off these poles. The poles were about 30 inches in diameter down to about 24 inches in diameter. And we were putting the butt end of the pole down into the ground and washing them in with a high pressure water pump, Rupp Gorman water pump. So when we were tipping them off, I was using a chainsaw with a 36-inch blade and making a couple of pounds of sawdust. That was bad. That was just really bad. And to make it worse, it was brutally hot that day. Brutal. I mean, it was like the middle of July. So what we did was I slung the poles front and back with 2 wires, even in the water and I slung them like 4 or 5 inches over the top of the water. And I cut that creosoted lumber, tipped off those poles 4 ways, and the dust and the oil from the creosote went into the water where there was 5 other men besides myself. They were grabbing the pieces, and then one guy was bringing me what I needed to work on the poles. We needed to sharpen the chainsaw a couple of times because there was a lot of rocks and stubble in the pilings. So he would bring over the battery and the chainsaw sharpener, and we'd just put it on the chain on top of the pole and sharpen the chainsaw. But anyway, 5 of us went to the hospital. 6 of us went to the hospital. Mine was the worst. Theirs was, and we had burns on our stomach and groin area. All the skin on the stomach and the groin area was all affected. Very bad. It was very bad. And when I was recovering from that, the doctor said, look, you've been using this pressure-treated lumber how many years now? I said, maybe 11, 12 years. He goes, you're done. You're done with this. It's over. You got heavy metal poisoning. Because after the wounds healed from the creosote, which was the next season in spring, I started using the pressure-treated lumber again, and I lost my fingernail and my toenails and my hair again. That stuff, because it had copper chloride, actually, CCA, copper chloride, and arsenic, CCA. Because it had those heavy metals in it, that was it. The doctor said you need to sell your barge. And so I would only do selective jobs and I would protect myself as best I could, but I would still get sick after a job. But I needed to make a living. So I'm going to read the comments now, and then I'm going to talk about the Philippines experience, Gary. I hope he's here. Mitch Bromwell. Hello, Mitch. Thank you, Mitch. Mitch Bromwell has got a channel, by the way. Salamat, Mitch. Mercury, hello. Scott is here. I'm going to read the comments now. Mitch Bromwell has a channel, and his channel, Mitch Bromwell actually is an instructor and a teacher at the astronauts, okay? But he also brings you on tours of the NASA Space Center and things that he's allowed to do. And he's also very much a fan of music, and he has some really cool music videos up on his channel. So if you're not subscribed to Mitch Bromwell, understand that he teaches the astronauts what they have to do. Now, that is an amazing, something to put a feather in your cap, so to speak. So thank you very much for the super chat, Mitch. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much, Mitch Bromwell. Salamat. Okay, so I'm going to go to the top of the page, and I hope the Philippines experience is here, because I had something I wanted to tell him. So if you're here, Gary, please say hello. So Mercury is here. Welcome to the machine, Mercury. Go Bobo sister. That would be a good job for Dennis Adams, my friend Dennis. We had a great conversation a few days ago. Okay, John Boone is here. Everybody is saying hello to each other. Keep going. The live. Thank you, 007. Thermatrix 007. Samuel is here. Samuel also has a channel. I think he's reached the 1,000 subscriber mark, and he's doing streams now, but he may be doing it with a different stream. I caught about 10 minutes of a stream at 3 o'clock this morning, but I couldn't respond. I just was so tired. I was looking at the screen falling asleep. So Uncle Sam S72 is now doing live streaming. Jack Thompson says, where is our beloved friend Warren? Jack, I've called Warren, I would imagine upwards of 20 times in the last 5 days. Unfortunately, I would think the last time he disappeared like this, he was in the hospital for pain therapy for his cancer. It wasn't cancer that he was being in the hospital for. It was for the pain therapy. And they were trying to regulate his medication. So I would think that's where he is again. Mr. Willis. Hello, Mr. Willis. Mayan Buntag. Salamat. Mr. Willis is a gentleman from Hawaii, and he's also a subscriber and a member of my Patreon account, who I spoke with on the phone for about just under an hour this week, and had a nice conversation with Mr. Willis. And he is coming to the Philippines. And if you guys have any suggestions where Mr. Willis what he can do in Manila, that's where he's going to spend most of his time. Some in Cebu and some in Bohol. Richard Einstein. Dextrose gives me massive pain and back cramps in 20 to 30 minutes, which lasts 4 to 6 hours. It's really painful. I cut out dextrose, which is in about half of prepared foods. Well, I'm Richard Einstein. I'm leaning towards the fact that in the Philippines, and not necessarily America, for all the stuff they put in the foods, the processed foods in America, my foot healed up in 2 months. A healing process that didn't take place in 8 months. From the first week of July to the end of February, 8 months went by and my foot wouldn't heal up. My foot healed up, a 1/4 inch deep wound, open flesh, 1 5/8 inches in diameter on March 1st when I went to New York, healed up every single day since I stopped eating the foods in the Philippines. So it's got to be something in the food. There is no way around the fact that whatever it is, it's an across-the-board product that they're slipping in the water. Got to be in the water, because if I drink their bottled water, even though it goes through a filtration, it's not good enough. If I buy distilled water, it's 100%, 200% less swollen. Now I'm making my own distilled water, and I'm going to check, according to the wattage on my water distiller, it costs me about half of what it costs to buy the water. I buy 6 bottles at a time, and there's 10 liters in each bottle at 90 pesos. So I spend 900 pesos on water. But I also have to spend 300 pesos to get the water home for a tricycle. So now I'm paying about 120 pesos per bottle to get it home. And so I'm making the water, and I'll check my electric bill, which is pretty consistent, and I'll see which is cheaper to do it. But it's a pain in the neck to make water. You got to go out and fill the bucket and so on and so forth. Mr. Willis, that vinegar has synthetic acetate acid, I believe. Okay, so let's look on the label. Mr. Willis made a suggestion. If I can read the ingredients, I'm going to have to put this tablet down, and we're going to look for synthetic acetate. Nope, there's no ingredients. Water, cane sugar, emulsifier, neutral cloud, antioxidant, sodium metabisulfite, and color caramel. I don't know if one of those. Another trick that they do in the Philippines is, and they're doing it in America too, is they're using different names for products. So, Mr. Willis, you could be correct. Richard Einstein said, I have contacted many companies about the dextrose problem, which is much more common than you would think. Several companies stopped using dextrose to produce their products. Well, that might be so, but whatever the product is that they're adding in the Philippines, I doubt very much those rules and regulations in America would have anything to do with the manufacturing process in the Philippines. Philippines is about making money. So if they can make the people believe this product tastes good using Macahalo, they will. Now, Richard says, try coconut oil, Mike. That is the best oil you can use. Most olive oil is not pure olive oil. Even if it says pure virgin olive oil, just try coconut oil. All right, I'll do that when I run out of what's left in that liter of olive oil that I have. I'll try it. I have to try everything at this point, because my foot, I'm not going to show you that the wound on my right shin, it opened up to 1/4 inch deep, 1/4 inch wide, and 1/2 inch long as soon as I started drinking the bottled water, the filtered water. So since I started drinking distilled water, it's 1/4 inch deep and 1/4 inch round, but it's healing. So everything they do is to make money. So I doubt that complaining about anything in the Philippines, you might as well be talking to a brick wall. Richard, Mr. Willis, Shop Macahalo, that pute soy sauce has water, hydrogenized soybean protein, iodized salt, potassium iodate, caramel color, monosodium glutamate. Oh, it does have monosodium glutamate? I didn't see that on the label. But I wouldn't doubt that it has it in it, because it makes, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you, anything at all that says Goya on it or baboy seasoning, like when they cook like the innards of a pig, or when they when they roast the pig, they put these little packages. They're packaged. They look exactly. They look exactly like the. They look exactly like this. The packages of the seasoning. It's called. I don't know, some sort of seasoning. I don't buy it, so I don't know. But it's a Goya type seasoning, and they have MSG in the packages. It says it clear as day. It has MSG. This stuff, the baboy seasoning, forget about it. My feet swell up from 11.5 inches, my ankle size to where you can see the muscles in my calf muscles, to 13 plus inches, and you can't see where the calf changes. Well, there's no muscle tone at all in the calf muscle. It's just all swollen from the knees down. So I'm going to look again in the putti for the monosodium glutamate. No, it doesn't say monosodium glutamate, but I bet you they put it in there under a different name. Well, I don't know, Mr. Willis, but okay, Mr. Willis is sure that in the names of the products that he listed in the comments section, he's sure anything hydrogenized has MSG. He's sure that there's MSG in there, and I am too, Mr. Willis. I am 100% sure about that. So I'm still looking for Gary. I don't know how far down the comments are. Jack Thompson, very astute. Threw some dirty diapers. They filter the water. Mr. Willis, that Duty Putu soy sauce is full of. Now the soy sauce. Let's read the ingredients on the soy sauce. Oh boy, let's see if I could do this. Even with these glasses. Okay, in the soy sauce it has water, and Mr. Willis made it clear that hydrogenized stuff has MSG. So hydrogenized soybean, there's your MSG. Iodized salt, caramel as color. And in clear as day lettering, monosodium glutamate or other flavor enhancer. Okay, so Mr. Willis is 100% positive feedback on that. It has monosodium glutamate. So what I will do, I'm going to go to a feast in a few weeks. I will give that soy sauce to somebody. Probably I'll give the woman whose feast I'm going to, and I'll just have to make sure that we don't use that anymore around here. Scott. Hey all, Mr. Fazio, the icon of the blue-collar man, supporter of tradition, and the last best hope to maintain natural order in gender relations, is live and firing a Gatling gun of truth. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for stopping by, Scott. I hope that your flu is getting better. God, that knocked me out when I had it back in the 90s. Couldn't believe how much that hurt my system. And after the flu went away and I felt normal and I went back to work, I would get exhausted after 3 hours of work for a couple of weeks. It just destroys your body. Welcome to the machine, Scott. Mr. Willis only uses organic soy sauce called J. San Tamarai soy sauce. I could look for that. I could look for that when I go. I could look for that. Thank you, Mr. Willis. Maybe make a note when the live stream is over, because I won't remember all of these comments. Just put the name and I'll put it on my list for when I go to the city. All those bad ingredients. Okay, all right, so Mr. Willis apparently has an understanding of these ingredients. All those bad ingredients causes inflammation That's why you're getting swelling on your legs, feet, and such. Yeah, well, that's the conclusion that I came to, and that's the reason for this live stream. It's in everything here, but how do they get what, or rather, should I say, what is the product that they're adding to the water, to the that the reverse osmosis? What is the product that they're adding to the filtered water that reverse osmosis doesn't filter out? Now, I understand the reverse osmosis here goes down to about 3 microns, and I don't know if 3 microns will filter out chemicals. It filters out particles, but chemicals are different. So, what is the product that they're adding to water? Now, we know in America what they're adding to water. I've done many videos on that topic. They are adding Macahalo to the water in America to dumb you down. Don't make any mistake about that. It seems to be working too. Saban, 102 ounces is 3 liters. So they've reduced, thank you, Saban, they have reduced almost 130, almost, they've reduced the size of a 1 gallon can. The contents of a 1 gallon size can, they have reduced by 1 quart, or 25%, according to Saban. A 4 liters is 135 ounces, but what's in the can is 102 ounces. So that means they have taken away 33 ounces, or just a quart, 1 quart and 1 ounce out of the can, and now there's just dead air space in the can. Now, I would prefer that they kept it at a gallon and charged you more, rather than leave 1.5 inches of air in the can. That's my preference. But people are fooled by the size of the container, and that's what it's all about, packaging. Potato chips are the best example of false packaging that there is. Mitch Bromwell, Michael will see it when he looks at his notebook. He can't see the chat otherwise. Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, Mitch. I love watching your videos, by the way. So again, Mitch Bromwell teaches the astronauts how to be astronauts. Now that I find interesting. Very interesting. Bill James, chicken processing plants are spraying chickens with chemicals that kill bacteria. That I did hear about, Bill James. This is for U.S. market, European Union. Okay, this is for the U.S. market. European Union will not accept them. Bacteria is becoming a big problem. Bill James, I think I made it clear that I don't know what it is in the chicken, but it doesn't matter how they prepare the chicken. Even what another false thing in the Philippines, when you go into the BQ Mall or the ICM Mall and you ask them, where's your fresh chicken, and they show you over there, and they're taking the fresh chicken out of huge trays that are frozen solid. Okay, well, not solid. They're probably frozen at about 30 degrees or 28 degrees. They're not like 6-degree ice. So they're taking them out of huge bins. So it's not even fresh. And I found this out a week ago when I bought some of that semi-frozen chicken so it would stay cold in my bag, and brought it home and seasoned it with nothing more than pepper and lemon spice. By the next morning, after I seasoned it, now this was frozen, by the next morning, maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, I opened it up to turn the chicken, and it already smelled foul. So, fresh is not a word I would use for fresh chicken in the Philippines. I did barbecue it, I did cook it well done, and I did eat it, and I did not get sick. But it's not fresh chicken if you're buying it in the mall, in the food stores. What you're buying is fresh frozen chicken. Now, I know a person I met in the dentist office that sells 30,000 chickens a month. And they told me 5 years ago that they semi-freeze them when they leave the batch plant. But they didn't tell me what they put on the chicken. But whatever, it doesn't matter whether they're putting anything on the chicken skin to kill bacteria. It doesn't make a difference what chemicals they're putting on the chicken after they slaughter the chicken. I think it's something much more profound. It's something in the chicken feed. That's what I think. And I could be wrong, but I'm not a chemist. But something that's inside the chicken makes my feet swell up like footballs. All right, so thank you, Bill James. Slim Jim, welcome to the machine. Mrs. Heminger, Fazio, do you have any advice for Steve Montelli? He's run into a lot of issues lately. Mrs. Heminger, I like Steve Montelli, but I don't watch Steve Montelli. So if you want to clarify what the issues are, I might have some advice, but my advice might not be good advice. I usually tell people to go take a long walk off a short pier. Carl Vella is here. I think we miss your cutting-edge foul mouth. When can you start cursing? Hey, and Carl hearing me curse dates back into the 1960s. Slim Jim, Carl, I'm not going to go back. I have a video up on the screen. I just watched a video about cussing and algorithms on YouTube. And I got to tell you, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for me cussing in the future. There are that immediately get your videos taken off playlists. There are certain word phrases that change the entire attitude of what happens on your video. So cursing is probably not going to make a comeback. Even you curse in a private video and put it up on Patreon, it's probably not going to, it definitely affects the new and communistic type rules that they have, what is called censorship on YouTube and Google, are picking up. Even if you put a placard with the curse word on the placard, it's picking up the curse word on the placard. So you don't have to say it, but it'll pick up on the placard. If you do say it and you mumble it and it comes out in the caption window, it censors your video. So unless somebody wants to subsidize my channel income, I am not going to go back to cursing on YouTube, but it is something that I do cherish and I miss a lot. Carl Vella, let's see. Slim Jims. Slim Jim tried a drinking experiment he lost. I did that last week. I got a good night's sleep. Gatorade. Mercury says drink Gatorade. You know, when Gatorade first came out, I said I'll never drink that stuff. Ever. I won't ever drink it. Since Gatorade has been born, I looked at the ingredients on Gatorade, and the main ingredient is sugar. And the vitamins that they added, that they said they added, don't amount to a hill of beans. And then they came out 30 years later, they came out and said Gatorade is basically worthless. Might as well just drink sugar water. And I am happy to say I haven't drank 20 quarts of Gatorade since the beginning of time. Kiko Man soy sauce is safe, mate, says Slim Jim. Well, that might be true. That was what I was drinking in America, so that probably has a lot of truth to it. However, I'm going to tell you what the price of Kiko Man soy sauce is in the Philippines. For one thing, it's about 4+ times the price of the Philippine soy sauce. So again, your grocery bill for that product is 4 times normal. Soy sauce and other products that you like, instead of olive oil, somebody suggested that I drink coconut oil. That's about twice, I think, the price. So, you're increasing your product pricing or prices for products by, you're not increasing it a lot across the board, but you're increasing it probably 20% on a grocery bill. So Daisy and I spend 12,000 pesos a month. So that's an additional 2,400 pesos. Well, that's with seasoning. But I would say that my grocery bill will go up to about 15,000 pesos a month. If I change to go to natural products, it could go up to 17 or 18,000 pesos a month. And I just don't, I don't think it's warranted to change to the top end stuff for the cost, if I can eliminate those things altogether. So now, instead of frying in oil, what I tried, I whatever baboy or pig I fried, I saved the oil from frying the fat from the pig, and then I used that oil to fry in. It's not like a lard, but in the refrigerator it turns into like a lard product. So I mean, there's just so much money I want to spend on foods, and then it would be experimental at best. But soy sauce is something I do not need. I actually have 7 pounds of salt. I think it's 7 pounds in a container somewhere. I have to find that box. So I'll eliminate soy sauce and substitute it with Morton salt. That was 35 pesos a pound. So, but thanks for the advice. Mitch Bromwell is saying goodbye. All right, Mitch Bromwell. Mitch Bromwell did a double super chat. Salamat, Mitch. Thank you very much. I didn't see that. Without my glasses, I skipped right past it. I apologize, Mitch. Thank you for stopping by. All right, so we're down to Slim Jim. Those packs are MSG. Yeah, they're pure. They're pure Macahalo, pure MSG, and it will make mud taste good. All right, so Mitch Bromwell is going to show you video or a live stream of launching a ULA rocket this Thursday. This is part of the preparation for the 2024 moon landing and gateway to Mars. God bless everyone. Goodbye. So again, Mitch Bromwell teaches astronaut training, and he's going to have some sort of live stream or video up teaching of an experimental rocket, which is going to be part of preparation to go back to the moon. I think that is just so cool. To be able to say something like that. We are launching a ULA rocket in preparation to go into the moon. Not they are, not NASA is. We are launching a rocket. So you guys know how I feel about that stuff, but I just think it's so cool that he can include himself in such a great undertaking. He's running. Okay, Mrs. Heminger answers the question. The Hemi is in the house, as Democracy Doctor says, quotes. He's running into a lot of scammers and drama with the Filipinos. His last girlfriend may have gotten him blacklisted. I've had the same issue. Mrs. Heminger has had the same issue, not me. Okay, so I met his last girlfriend. There wasn't much conversation. I don't know. I'm not one to give advice. I told you what my advice would be. You don't, you people, I'm going to give you some advice about dating Filipinas. I don't do the dating Filipina video scene anymore because I have a bad attitude. Okay? I'm going to tell you something. If they were going to select 100 people in the world that were considered, based on their previous videos on YouTube, male chauvinist pigs, I would definitely be in the top 10% of that category. There's no doubt about it. Not in my mind and not in anybody's mind that knows me. Okay? I have a very, very odd understanding of reality. And that is that as the owner of a construction company and a jet mechanic and a private pilot, I think that things should be a certain way to make them work. And I think that you should be able to see the telltale signs of a bad relationship. Okay? Now, that's not always possible. But as far as me giving advice on dating Filipinas, I have a bad attitude about that. I told you people I went through 3,000 short or long conversations with Filipinas before I met Daisy May. Okay? And some of those conversations lasted, a few minutes. Some of them didn't last that long. As soon as I got online and they didn't understand English, typed or spoken, I was done with that. Okay, there's a lot of guys that go out with women that don't speak English, and they can't spell it either. And I don't understand that. So that eliminates about half the dating possibilities in the Philippines. So unless you're just out partying and you don't care what they sound like when they're upside down, why would you care what they sound like if they're upside down? It's all muffled anyway. Your ears are usually covered. So as far as me on dating advice, I would not give dating advice. I have a rule. I have a rule in life. It has nothing to do with dating Filipinos. If you lie, I say goodbye. Okay? Now that means the first time you deceive me intentionally, I will tell you goodbye. It won't make a difference who you are. Could be family, could be the men that work for me. I go to a job and I says, who dropped that wheelbarrow in the pool of mud? We were building a deck around a pool. I had like 25 men working for me for Zola Craft, my deck and dock building company. And they were all Polish, except for about 4 men. So one crew had the 4 Americans and like 7 or 8 Polish men. And another crew was all Polish with 1 Polish man that spoke English. And I left the Polish crew to go talk with the American men on another pool job we were doing. We were building a deck around a pool. And one of the men dropped a wheelbarrow of mud into the pool. And I just tipped over when we were setting concrete posts for a deck. There was like 11 men on that job. And I got to the pool, and the whole pool was cloudy. It was gray. So I said, who did this? And no one would tell me who did it. I says, okay. I used to carry a lot of money around at the time. So I just took my money out of my pocket, and I asked each person how many days they worked and how many hours. And I had a pretty good memory of it because the Polish men was easy to keep track of. Everybody showed up at 6:45 in the morning, and everybody worked till 5 o'clock at night. So that was a 10-hour day. Because if they worked 10 hours, I paid them for their half-hour lunch. So, and they said, Joseph said, Mihao, everybody? And I said, yeah, Mihao, everybody. And so I started paying them, and I fired them all. So I said, now, if somebody wants to tell me who did it, then I will make that man pay for the cleanup. So if 10 men have to work for a day to get an entire wheelbarrow of mud and get that crap off the bottom of the pool, then he can pay the men. So he did. He actually did. Or they all chipped in. Either way, they cleaned up the pool. But I actually fired 11 men because they lied to me. Now, I did take them back because there's nothing better than having a hard-working Polish man working for you. They're really good workers. They always show up 15 or 20 minutes early. Never was anything stolen on the job or any out of my toolbox. But I have a rule: if you lie, I say goodbye. So no one would tell me, which was the equivalent. And these guys were making me a lot of money, but I just said, I won't put up with that crap. I just won't put up with it. So the first time a Filipino woman deceives me, and it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't make a difference what it is. How much money they want is all, that's their personal problem. You know, when you take in a Filipino woman, you take on the responsibility of the woman. If you have an agreement to take on the responsibility partially for their family, well, then you can take on that agreement, and you have to keep your agreement now. When you take a Filipina in and you have an agreement to give whatever the amount of money is to the family, it is expected on that day of every month. So you just might as well get it through your head. That's part of living in the Philippines. But the problem is that after you date them and you make the first payment, because they're family, I don't know why Filipino men are so lazy, but the woman is usually the moneymaker in the family. So after the first month, they'll tell you some story that they need more money. For whatever, this story, you've heard this story from everybody. This is nothing new. They'll tell you anything. Typically, it's a toothache. Not possible to see, easy to get a receipt for, and not possible to prove. So, it could be a doctor's visit. Not possible to prove, not possible to see. They're on a different island. So, when I made the agreements with the first few women that I dated, I kept my agreement to give their family X amount of pesos per month, for as long as they stayed with me, but no more. I didn't care. I would tell them it makes no difference to me if what does the emergency on your family's end should have been covered for the fact that your family should be able to cover the emergency costs. They would freak. They usually just get their things and walk out if you don't give them what they want. But once you do give them what they want, it never stops. It doesn't end. It's endless. So, fortunately, that didn't happen with Daisy May and myself. But if it did, then it would end. It was just that simple. It makes no difference to me who you are. If a man worked for me, I had a guy named Mikey who was my good friend who I actually watched come home from the hospital back in 1960. Mikey's mother, Cookie Comedy, brought him home from the hospital in the bassinet, and she paraded him around the house, and I got to play with him as a newborn baby. I remember this. I could have been 7 maybe at the time, because I do have a vivid memory of it. Everybody celebrating at the party. Maybe it was at the christening, but I remember Mikey being born. And he worked for me for like 10 years on and off. Whenever his union job stopped, I'd hire him in an instant. I'd hire him. So one day, back in like 1989 or 1990, Mikey and I did a lot of stuff together. Now, you don't understand what I mean when I say a lot of stuff, but we valued each other's friendship and we trusted each other. So one day in 1990, Mikey's wife invited me over to the house for a barbecue, and the back porch needed sweeping. And I went into Mikey's shed. Now, this is a guy I liked. He's my friend. My family was friends with his family. My brother was friends with his brother. This is a guy that we dated the same girls. We went out with the same friends at night drinking. We were friends. I walked into Mikey's shed. He had a yellow broom, a yellow shovel, and a yellow pair of yellow 4-inch vice grips. Now those I wouldn't blame him for taking, because everybody steals 4-inch vice grips. It's just part of being in the contracting business. But I did find the vice grips. When I saw the broom and the shovel, I went into the toolbox and I found my 4-inch vice grip. So I walked out with the broom, with the shovel, and with the vice grips. And I said, Mikey, what's up with this? He goes, I borrowed those. I just forgot to bring them back. I never talked to that guy again. Okay. I mean, I did talk to him, and we were friends since he was born, but he never worked for me again. So I have a strange attitude when it comes to women and or friends. So in regards to me giving Steve Montelli advice, my advice to you when you're dating a Filipina is the first time they lie to you, or the first time they deceive you, or the first time they pull some bonehead idea off and think that it's okay, even though you explain to them that this particular thing is never going to be allowed, and they do it anyway to test you. They test you all the time, the Filipino women. If they pull some bone, like, I don't remember the girl's name, but here is a story. This is a true story. So I went out with this woman. She brought her friend to lunch. She brought her friend to lunch a few days later. She brought her friend to Alona Beach. We all had breakfast together. And eventually I said, it's time for you and me just to have a date without your friend. And that was okay. And we did not have a sexual relations. We did not. Okay. So one day we were at my apartment, and we were not having sexual relations. I'm going to make this perfectly clear, because we had only known each other about 10 days. So fiesta in that part of the hall was the following week. And she said to me, I liked this girl. I liked her a lot. She was very pretty. She actually had a job. She worked every day. And, when we had breakfast, it was either Saturday or Sunday morning. She had a 5-day job. And I liked this girl. And she said to me, my parents want to invite you to the fiesta. I said, that's nice. Okay. She goes, but there's one problem. I'm going, what could that possibly be? I don't even know your parents. So she said, well, my parents would like to give you a cold beer. I said, yeah, that's probably problematic because I don't drink alcohol. So she said, no, the problem is they want to give you a cold. All right. So I said, let's change it to water. She goes, there's still the same problem, basically. I said, what is the problem? She goes, well, they don't have a refrigerator. So my answer was pretty crude. I said, well, just tell them to buy ice, because I knew at that point where this was headed. This was headed into already charted territory. I already heard this story. I need water. So the territory where we were headed with that was the family doesn't have a refrigerator. They don't have a refrigerator. But the family wanted a refrigerator, and they didn't have the money for the refrigerator. So the girl said to me, she goes, well, they don't want to buy ice. They want to open up a refrigerator and hand you the cold drink from the refrigerator. And I don't know how it came to be, but I says, and how much is a refrigerator? Because at that point, she was already, in my mind, she was already packed and out. Like, she only had her day bag, and she had a few stuff. They always throw stuff in the bathroom. They always do that. It's a trait that girls do. They leave some sort of telltale signs that you're dating somebody in the bathroom or on top of the medicine cabinet or wherever they do it. They do it. They all do it. Bad attitude, I know. So I said to her, do you have any idea how much a refrigerator costs? And she just spouted out a number, 18,000 pesos, which was only a few months after I got to the Philippines. So that was the equivalent of about $450, $500. The peso, I think, was 39 pesos to the dollar. So it was about $450 plus. And I just said to her, I think it's best that you pack up your stuff and leave. And that was it. The end of the conversation. No argument, nothing to argue about. You know me for 10 days or 12 days, whatever it is, I treat you very nicely, and you want me to buy your family a refrigerator for $450 so they can hand me a cold drink? You have how many brothers and how many sisters? You have a mother and father, and you work, and you don't have a refrigerator, but you want me to buy you a refrigerator? Are you nuts? Well, I didn't say that, but that's what was going on in my mind. But they will all do that to you, not all. So get it through your head that at some point, now listen very carefully to what I'm going to say. At some point, the original agreements change from what they were when you could have it written down, you could have it verbally where they understand it, you can give the family the same amount of money for 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, a year, 2 years. At some point, they feel it has to change to become more. Well, the problem with that is, what is the family doing for the foreigner exactly that you are required to give them money? Oh, you want to talk about male chauvinist pigs? Let's go into it. Let's get into it. What is the family doing for you as a foreigner? You'll give them X amount of dollars per month, and they won't even call up and say thank you. You'll give the mother and father Christmas presents, and on occasion, and New Year's and birthdays, and on occasion, the mother may call you up and say thank you. For the most part, it's just relayed to you that their mother said thank you. Okay, so what is the father doing for me of any of these girls I ever met? Nothing. Does he come and help me work on my property? No. Does he call me up and say thank you for his birthday gift? No. Usually the mother calls up and says thank you. Are there members of the family living in the house that the girls that aren't working that could work? Yes. So why am I supporting them people? Why am I obligated to support those people, that 17 and 20-year-old people? Why am I obligated to support 17 and 20-year-olds that don't work, even part-time? And do they say thank you for the monies for the foods and or other things you give them? No, they don't. So why should we increase the amount of money? Pay attention. There's going to be a quiz one day. My attitude is, I make an agreement with somebody, I keep my agreements best I can. If I can't keep my agreement, I'll have to change the agreement. But I will make you aware that I'm changing the agreement, and I won't put demands that you accept it. But don't do the same thing to me. Don't change the agreement midstream and then put demands that it has to be like this or like that. It ain't never going to. My agreements, I usually think out real well. The one big mistake I made was with the lease, and it cost me 8,000 pesos to correct that little teeny item 21 because I wasn't paying attention. Pay attention. There's going to be a quiz. Okay, so I'm reading the comments. Mitch Bromwell says, young men who are seeking employment, NASA and its contractors are having a shortage of technicians and people who have A&P license, Blue Origin, Firefly, and SpaceX companies are some. So Mitch Bromwell is telling anybody with an A and P. I doubt I'm in that. I have an A and P, but going to work for NASA and moving back to America would not be my choice of things to do. But he's telling you that Firefly, SpaceX, and Blue Origin are hiring A and P licensed technicians. Thank you for the commercial there, Mitch. Anybody who has an A and P that's looking for a job and that's right out of college, Academy of Aeronautics, whatnot, that's a pretty good way to start your career. Thank you, Mr. Mitch Bromwell. Thank you. Mr. Willis. Mr. Willis says the Kiko Man in the Philippines is not made in the U.S., so it might be different. I'm just going to eliminate soy sauce altogether. Welcome to the machine, Michael McFarland. Okay, Brandon Canoli Carpati. Someone put the word to Fazio that his microphone is not good standards, and he's gone. Dude, I've been using the same microphone for over, I got back from America on May 3rd, so I put this microphone up on May 3rd, and it's been working. So if it's not working now, I don't know what to say. If anybody else is having trouble with the microphone, let me know, and I'll probably have to get another one. Okay, so you're gone. Sorry to hear about that, but I didn't drop the microphone or put it in water. Mrs. Heminger, LOL, the good old sex scam. The audacity of the girls to demand after they know sex scam you, but some don't make demands, they just don't put out. That's a scam still. Mrs. Heminger is a man of few words, but words that get the job done. They are maneuvering around. They are maneuvering around what we male chauvinist pig call the rules. I don't want to tell you. If I go back, I went back the other day. I have. I don't know how. I have a lot of contacts on Skype, so I was looking to call Warren, and he's all the way down with the W's. But I was looking at my Skype, and this girl, Christian something, I forgot her name, and so she said, "Hi, how are you?" That "Hi, how are you?" The Philippines girls. So I sent the message back. I said hello to you 4 years ago, and you're just saying hello now. And her response was, I mean, this was before I met Daisy May. This could have been back in 2015. I don't even know how long ago I met this girl. Anyway, so she said, "Hi, how are you?" So I said, "I sent you a friend request 4 years ago," because it was before I met Daisy, that's for sure. And her response was, do I have PayPal? You don't even know my name, and you're asking me for PayPal. You don't know where I live, and you're asking me if I have PayPal. So I sent the message back. If you want to send me money, you can do it through Western Union. Then I sent an additional message. In addition to that, you have no right to ask me for money. I don't even know your real name, but that's how they are here. So get it through your head that if they can, what she is hoping, this girl, Christian, whatever the hell her name was, what they are hoping is that you're 85 years old and senile, and that you'll say, "Yeah, I have PayPal," and they'll ask you for some freaking ridiculous amount of money with no qualms at all to ask you for $1,000, $500. They don't have any problem at all. And they'll say, "I'm going to buy a dress, and I'm going to buy a pair of shoes, and I'm going to take an airplane to see you." But before you even know their name, their real name, or where they actually live, they're asking you for $200 to $500. Absolutely normal, from what I remember from dating. They are insane. And anybody who puts up with one iota of that garbage is just stupid, weak-minded, and shouldn't be in the Philippines, because they will take your entire amassed fortune and give it to their family and friends and not care if they leave you destitute and broke on the side of the road. They don't care. The women in the Philippines that I dated before Daisy don't care how much they ask you for. They don't care that you living on a limited budget. They don't believe you're living on a limited budget, and they don't care if you are. If you are stupid enough to give them money, then you are stupid enough for them to ask for more. One guy who I didn't like, who I lived in the same complex of, who was a Jewish fella, and he wasn't too bright. He gave a woman a gas stove, and he bought the 3-foot bottle of propane, and he gave them a washing machine, not a dryer, but just a washing machine. And then they wanted the money for the electric. That's standard. You bought them a washing machine. It costs money to run the electric and the gas for the stove. And it costs money to run the gas for the... You are now expected to buy the gas for the stove and the electric. And if you think otherwise, you wait till you get to the Philippines and you just see that what I said is true. Everybody will tell you it's true. Whatever you buy them an electric stove, you're expected to pay the difference in electric. You buy them a washing machine, you're expected to pay the difference in electric. You buy them a gas stove, there is something inherently wrong with the way they think. Like, the stove as a gift is not enough. Now I have to end the tank, and now I have to, and so he spent $600 for those 3 items: the stove, the washing machine, and the tank. That wasn't enough. I said to him, "What are you, stupid?" He goes, "Well, I didn't expect him to ask me for gas," because we lived in the same complex for about 3.5 months. He eventually moved out. He had a gambling habit too, but that's besides the point. He was an idiot, and and I don't know what else he gave the girl. He was going to buy a coconut farm and grow coconuts. The girl put her under the girl's name. Do not give these girls money. When they ask for it, tell them no. Period. There's not like maybe next month. Just no. Anything short of absolutely not, and they'll wait around for another month. And they may do everything within their power to get you to change your mind. And then once you give their family money on the 30th of the month, every single month thereafter, you are expected to give their family money. Every month. Wait until the day you forget that you're away for a few days, and the 30th comes and goes and they don't get their money. They are texting you the very next day or the night of the 30th. Can you please send the money? We are short this month. Whatever. What? What if I didn't give you the money? What would you do then? Well, it's in their budget. That's what you are expected here. And I will have none of that. The changing of the agreement, you changed the agreement. I didn't change the agreement. So I'm the bad person to ask for dating advice. Thank you, Slim Jim. Mercury and Slim Jim are both, J-Doll, I've about had it with you. I don't know who you are. And until I talk to you on the phone and you tell me where you live, never will I answer a comment from you again. You always ask personal questions as if you know me. And you may very well know me. But I'm going to tell you, I don't block him. He doesn't have to be blocked. I will never respond to another question of yours, ever. Whether it's advice, and it's good advice, or it's not good advice. You always have a personal question. That is basically none of your business. So, you have just heard the last time, unless I forget, the last response you will ever give to me, or I will ever give you, unless you give me your telephone number. And I'm serious about that. You want to see somebody make an agreement? Here's my agreement with you. If you, J. Doll, don't give me your telephone number, whether it's a globe number in the Philippines or a United States number or an Australian number, if you don't give me your telephone number, you may as well never ask me a question or come to my channel again, because there will be no response. Every single live stream, every video, you have to ask a personal question. Who are you? I want to know. Thank you very much. Oh, and the way you can send that phone number is pick some obscure video with just a few views on it from 5 or 6 years ago and send me your telephone number and your name, your YouTube name. Anything short of that, just don't bother asking questions again. You have been nitpicking to try to get personal information from me for as long as I can remember. I want to know who you are, period. Hello, John Escape. Welcome to the machine. All right, so does anybody have questions about the different foods in the Philippines? Oh, you know, Gary from the Philippines Experience. I want you guys to go. Well, if you know Gary and you watch one of his new live videos or live streams or something like that, Gary had a shout out on another channel. We're not going to mention the channel's name, but for to promote. Somebody made a video to channels I'm going to promote, whatever, something like that. And Gary, the Philippines Experience, was mentioned in the promotion of that channel, Gary's channel. And then, Gary, you really screwed up. Tell Gary I said he screwed up. Gary came on my live stream last week and commented for about a lot of comments, a lot of good comments. I love Gary and Shah. And within an hour, the video that the other guy made, the hate channel guy, the video he made, he took down, removing the promotion of Gary's channel from his channel. Now, he might put it up again this afternoon just to stick it to me and say that I was lying. But right now, if you went to his channel, you would see, I think the name of the video was Time to Promote Some Channels. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And Gary's channel was featured as the promotional channel of the day. And it was there until Gary came on my live stream and commented. And I went to that. I specifically went to the hate channel. And that video was taken down within an hour after my live stream. And Gary came on to make comments. So you don't know who's, like the fella that I just told, if I don't know who you are, I'm never going to respond to you again. Because this guy's been doing this for well over a year and a half. I could probably look it up, but it's not that important. Every time he has a personal question. And then he insinuates that he knows who I am. And if he does know who I am, and he speaks English, it could be one of 3 or 4 expats that live in the general area where I live that I don't like. And it may very well be one of those people, because they kind of made a slip in one comment one time. And they kind of slipped up. I won't tell you what the slip up is. So they're basically trolling me. They know a little bit of information about me. Maybe they've garnished it from my videos, but I don't care where they got the information from. Why are you asking me personal questions if I don't know who you are? My personal friends, I will answer any questions and tell them the truth. But some schlep with some fake-ass YouTube name is not part of my repertoire of friends. And I've answered some of his questions that are a little bit more benign than others. But this clown keeps coming back with these personal questions, and he does it all. He just does it once each live stream, like as if he's not bothering me. He is bothering me. I want to know who he is, and I don't care if he tells me. I don't want to know who it is from somebody else. I want his telephone number so I can call him up and hear his voice. And then I'll answer the question. It'll be simple as that. I'll make you a deal. You give me your telephone number, and I hear your voice, and I'll answer your question. Otherwise, take a long walk off a short pier. Dude, you have vacated your welcome on my channel. Every time, every video that he comes on, it's a personal question, as if to catch me in a lie. I have my ideas who it is. It's not part of the hate channel, though. It started long before that. It started a very long time ago. It's a drunken Englishman. That's who I believe it is. Or a drunken Australian. One of the two. And I can't prove that either. But one time they slipped up one sentence. They put in a piece of information that very few people could know. So it has to be limited to one of these schmucks I know here in the Philippines. Now, if he's still listening and you are that Englishman or Australian, you should already know I don't like you. And I've said as much to you, to your face, in front of a group of people. So stop asking me personal questions. Stop commenting altogether. Unless you have already gone to an obscure video and put your telephone number in, and I know who I'm going to be talking to, then I'll answer your question in person on the phone. You people, I swear, you people on YouTube, you have some coyones. You got some pair asking people personal questions, things that are none of your damn business. I was giving you a general example of what the women here in the Philippines expect from you, and you switched it over to me and Daisy May, or Daisy May and myself. Gotta tell you, it was either a trick question or some schmuck I don't like breaking my chops. Either way, I don't like it. Telephone number, or don't come back, ever. Next time I see a comment from you and it's not your telephone number, then I will remove you from your ability to ask to put I will block you. Basically, I will block you because I made an agreement with you right now what you need to do, and I don't care if you don't ever watch another one of my videos, if you come and push a thumbs down, but I don't care about that. My videos are already starting to look like the hate channel videos because I made accurate and true statements about the people on the hate channels. And now I'm getting 16, 17, 18, 20 thumbs down on a video. These are small-minded individuals that have never accomplished anything on their own in real life. And the people that follow them are the similar in nature. They are people that have never accomplished anything in their real life. Now, what do I consider accomplish something in their real life? Let's take the prime example of a man that's on my live stream now, Dennis Adam. Till a few weeks ago, I had no idea Dennis Adam had a skill set that's amazing. He can weld, which means he knows how to fabricate metal. He knows how to remove trees. He knows how to build decks, staircases built into the side of a mountain or a hill. He has an oxyacetylene torch setup, which is the big tanks, not the little tanks. He has a welding. He has all kinds of. He has the grinders that go along. This is dangerous work now. This isn't these aren't children's toys. It's not like he has a 4-inch grinder. He's using an 8-inch grinder. He has the chop saw to cut the metal. He welds. He fabricates. He does carpentry. He designs his own structures in his own house. Does all this stuff. Had no idea that he had this many talents. In fact, I suggest you go to Dennis Adams' channel right now and subscribe, because now he's starting to post pictures of his work that he's done over the last 40 or 50 years. I think that's cool. He is a real person. He has accomplished on his own. You don't see, he didn't bring it to a fabrication shop with a sketch. He built it himself. These other guys on YouTube have never done anything on their own. They don't have a toolbox. They don't have a garage with tools in it. They don't own a backhoe, a bobcat, a dump truck. Dennis Adams made the coolest little trailer, dump truck, out of a boat trailer. He shortened it. He modified the yoke on the trailer. He added an arm to the yoke. And now he has a dump truck that when he winds up the cable that would have been for a boat trailer, the trailer itself comes up and dumps, so he doesn't have to shovel it in and out. He only has to shovel it in now, and then he cranks up a pulley and the material comes out of the back. He has done something in his life. Now, you could say, well, I'm judging people that have tools. I'm talking about anything. Did anybody here write a book? Do I know who you are? Have I ever seen you do concrete work? I got to tell you what I did yesterday. I did that live stream yesterday. And one of my neighbors came down the block and yelled out, "Guapo." "Guapo," which means handsome. Actually, he really likes the idea of this haircut I got, because he had one about a week before I got this one. And I told him I'm going to get one of those, and he laughed. He thought I was kidding. Now it's not exactly the same way his is, but it's close. And he, but he always calls me Guapo. So that's what they call me on the block, Guapo. I know they're lying, but that's okay. But anyway, he knocks on my door and tells me that the trucks, apparently there was some sort of a detour, and the trucks ran over my water line and broke my water line. And the last time it happened was New Year's morning, and no one told me that the water line was broken. I read every neighbor the riot act, every one of them on the block. I walked up and down the block, and I said, I saw you walking to the beach this morning, and I saw you walking back from the beach, and you walked right over my water line, and you didn't say that the water line looked like a little, like a little fountain. You didn't say something to me. Don't talk to me anymore. Don't talk to me. Don't ask me for nothing. Don't ask to borrow tools. Don't ask for nothing anymore. And they go, but Mike, I didn't know it was yours. I said, well, whose could it have been? It could only be one of two places. And you didn't notify either place. And now it looks like a giant pile of spaghetti, the water lines here, running across the ground. But anyway, he tells me that my water line was broken, and it wasn't anything I did. I had it buried. We had a bunch of rain a few weeks ago, a big amount of rain, and the mud just allowed the water line to come up out of the ground. And the trucks just ran it over, not on purpose, just part of. And somebody put rocks. They were building a fire, and they put a bunch of rocks. Not a fire, barbecue, and they put a bunch of barbecued stones to make a barbecue. So instead of hugging the right side of the street, or if there was traffic going both ways, they went on to the opposite side of the street, and they smashed up everybody's water line. It wasn't just my water line. They don't care. So, and there's nobody to blame. So anyway, after I did the live stream yesterday, I went out into the hot sun at noon and worked for 3 hours and dug it up and put it back down with iron rods. And then I tied it to the iron rods that I pounded into the ground next to the water line with straw, the plastic. Well, actually, I found one piece of straw, and I found a number 16 lamp cord, about 10 feet of lamp cord. So I used that. I found a piece of straw on the side of the road, and I found a piece of lamp cord on the way back to my house, because it's very far from my house. But I mean, like, I actually go out and do stuff. I actually work. Dennis Adams actually a worker. Okay, I like people like that. I attribute more. I attribute more of compliments to people that can actually do something with their hands than people that don't. Now, somebody like Warren, who's a police officer, he went out and risked his life and limb every day. He never knew when he was going to come home or if he was going to come home. Those are men that have accomplishments in life, aside from Warren's other accomplishments, which I don't talk about on YouTube. Okay, so, but if I don't know who you are, why are you asking me personal questions? For what reason? Who are you? And this goes for anybody. Anybody who knows me, who I talk to on the phone, or who comes and visits, I answer any question. But I got some Joe Schmo asking me personal questions for a year. He doesn't stop. What is wrong with you people? All right. So again, okay, so I missed something from Dennis Adams. Dennis Adams has a ear implant, a cochlear implant, cochlear implant. Okay, Dennis and I speak on the phone on a regular basis, but Dennis is a very talented man. Please go to his channel and subscribe. I mean, the stuff that he designs and builds, I find amazing. It would be something One Lonely Farmer or myself could do. Not a lot of people could do what Dennis Adams does, and he just looks like a Pennsylvania Dutch farmer, very simple man, but he's got skill sets. I'm not going to try any more of these voodoo medicines in the Philippines. I've tried all of them, John Escape. I've tried about 6 different types of greens and fruits that were edible and not edible, and not a one of them did anything to help my foot. Okay, this was the doctor that comes on my channel, Clark Henderson, said this is an isolated incident. He called it a compartmentalized bacteriological infection from the welding rod, which the Fuji welding rod, it only happened in the 4 places the rod touched my leg or the spatter landed on me. So some sort of bacteria in the welding rod that has to be absorbed out of the system. All right. Warren, when are you gonna when are we gonna talk on the phone, Warren? When are you available to talk on the phone after this live stream? And I know you're getting my messages. Yeah, I figured that. That's what I left in the last message. All right, I understand. Well, thanks for stopping by. I remember what you told me last time. You were in the hospital for pain medication. Okay, you're home. Okay, great. Yeah, looking forward to talking to you. Looking forward to that. Always a nice conversation with Warren. Okay. Warren is, I got to tell you, Warren is a lot more interesting than most people understand. He has hobbies. He has things that he has collected over the years that I find very interesting. He has opinions about things, and not necessarily because he agrees with me. He doesn't agree with me. Warren is his own man. He's comfortable in his own skin. He just thinks the same way I do, and basically the same way Mercury does, Dennis Adams, Scott Del Fuego, Democracy Doctor, even Mrs. Heminger. Okay, we all have a certain mindset, and as Scott Del Fuego so eloquently put it, that I'm like a dinosaur from the past with believing in traditional things. I believe a man should go out and earn a living, whether it's risking life and limb or actually going out and creating something and then working at that and then making money from the thing you created. I believe that is a better way to go through life and not be such a lazy sloth-like creature like some of the people that I've met on YouTube. They're just blah blah blah. They're blah blah blah. They have nothing in their past history in as far as pictures or anything they created to put forth on YouTube to say, I earned this. A lot of people just go to work for the state or get a city job. I have city worker after city worker in my family. They are, for the most, except for one, for the most part, they're the laziest people I've ever met in my entire life. But I didn't look at that as I was growing up. It was always Uncle Ernie or Uncle Vic. Well, Uncle Ernie had his own insurance business. But I mean, it was always, this or Uncle that, Aunt this, Aunt that. But a lot of them had city jobs. And basically, when I look back, they were basically very lazy. And they were users. They were always using people for something. Just that's my experience with my family. That's just my experience. But I like people that have gone out, at least tried to make something of themselves on their own. A lot of people try and fail, but at least you tried. These people that come on YouTube and have nothing to offer as far as pictures or stories from their past that can be verified, I have no respect for them whatsoever, and you already know that. So, I will be calling Warren in a few minutes. Yes, Scott Del Fuego is still here. Having risk in your job makes you appreciate the rest of life. And that is true. And, every day I went to work, I owned a barge and crane. Do you have any idea how dangerous it is to work in or on a barge with a crane on it? It's really dangerous, especially live wire cranes. Okay, live wire cranes. So many things can happen. If you take your mind off what you're focusing on, I gotta tell you, I had no window in front of me. That window was broke out. Oh God, 30 years ago. The crane that I eventually put on the barge, the big 35-ton Lorraine, had no window. Okay, it was good that it had no window because I had broke it a half a dozen times. But I used to pick up what we call sticks, but they were actually bigger than the telephone poles you'd see in front of your house. They were wooden poles that might be 28, 26 feet high. I used to pick up sticks that were 40, 50 feet long. So you got to pick up, if you can, and the wires, it works out, that you pick it up. The one wire you pick up the butt end with, and then that wire is always the wire that you use the most anyway, the one wire. So that would be the wire on the right drum. Okay, and then the two wire is the left wire, same diameter wire, but it doesn't go under so much stress. So for every time you replace the number 2 wire, you replace the number 1 wire twice. You have no idea what it takes just to change the wire so that somebody doesn't get killed. Because the wire bends every time it goes through the shiv, then it has a work life. And once you start to get fish hooks in the wire, you got to replace the wire. Just that job is dangerous. But what it's like to work underneath the number 1 wire, which usually had to hammer a 5,000, 6,000 pound hammer or an 8,000 pound pile driving rig on the ocean, you got to have what it takes to be a man. Anything can happen. And I can remember more than once, and I don't have video or pictures of it, that I would pick up a stick. And when you picked up a 50-foot stick, it's going to swing around. Now, a 50-foot stick weighs 4,000 pounds when they're wet. So even the fact that a guy on the deck has a tagline on one end, usually just the one tagline, because usually that's just the way you pick them up. I've picked up sticks. The ocean has rolled. The waves have flown up. The swell goes down, and the stick starts swaying like a swing. And that's okay, but it might bounce off the pilot house, the tip. And the next time it swings back, it swings into, because I had a special height that I would work at, the stick would be at. It would swing. Sometimes I would be in the cab of the crane. Now, I'm not lying to you. And if anybody is out there that has ever worked for me, they'll tell you that this happened. Not often, but it did happen. Now you got 4,000 pounds of piling, 24 inches in diameter, 50 feet long, wet. Okay? And it comes, and this is the pointy side, full of mud and barnacles, and it'll come through the window of the pilot house, and I'll have to duck out of the pilot house. Now I can't even release the brakes, because then it's going to fall down on top of me. So I have to figure out how to maneuver my feet and swing down to let the pole go into the pilot house, and then boom the crane back down and pick the number one wire up to pull it out of the pilot house. Okay? Now, of course, anybody's going to say, well, then I don't know how to operate a crane. And to that, I will tell you, I will wager you any amount of money. It doesn't matter how much money you have, that I know how to operate a live boom, live wire crane. I could get into one today and operate it. Not good like I used to, but I know how to operate a live boom, live wire crane. These were things that happened on occasion. But you can't panic. You panic, you die. You take your foot off the number one wire, you die. You don't boom the crane down and pick the number one wire up with the control, you die. Okay? This is something that you do, and then you go, man. And maybe that night you go out and have a few drinks. But those things happen. And I was fortunate enough to work with a live boom, live wire crane from 1988 to 1999, and never dinged that one guy's finger, his fingernail. That was all that was ever lost. But there were things that happened on the barge. Sometimes I'd have 6 or 8 pilings piled up on the barge, and I need a piling from that pile. And the pile might not be the one on the top. I need one of the bottom pilings, which were the longer ones. One time I remember Joseph, the Polish man who I said spoke English, I remember him dancing over rolling pilings as they rolled off the barge. And he was bound. It looked like he was jumping like a log jumper. Okay, stuff happens. No, he didn't get hurt, and he didn't get upset. He made a mistake. What he did was, we had rope lashing down the first layer of pilings, which were 2 layers high, 5 wide, and then 4 on top of that. And he cut that rope. And he shouldn't have cut that bottom lashing. Okay. So when I picked up so there's 50 footers, which were the length of the barge. There were 60 footers too, but not that day. I would pick up the 50 foot on the end of the 50 foot on the small end, which might have been 12, 13 inches in diameter. So we would pick up the far end of the pole, pick it up, and then we'd put a crib underneath it at about the 10 or 12 foot mark. And then Joseph was my ground man. He would take the sling off the tip of the pole, and then he'd move the sling to the inside part of the cribbing, which would be about 15, 18 feet down from the pole. Then I would boom the crane all the way down like this, and the wire would be pulling the pole out of the pile. It wouldn't be picking it up to break the rope, because the rope was right at the end of the pole. Well, what Joseph did was he had cut that rope. I don't know why, and I don't know when. And I can't see every rope and every line that's lashed down to the barge. So Joseph had cut that lashing, and when I pulled the pole out, it didn't come out by itself. because one of the barriers on the barge to stop the poles from falling off were the heads, or the big cleats. The cleats were raised up off the deck about 18 inches. So it pulled, but I didn't have the poles right up to the front of the barge. I only had them up to the cleats because I needed the front of the barge for work area to do my work off of. I couldn't be walking around on top of telephone poles doing certain things. So when I pulled that pole out, it pulled 2 or 3 poles with it, and they were no longer lashed, and they rolled off the barge. And Joseph was on the outside pole. And when he saw the first pole rolling off the barge, he jumped to the second pole. While that one was rolling off the barge, he jumped to the third pole, and I had the fourth pole, and he jumped on top of the fourth pole and grabbed the cable. And I'm going, wow, that was close. Because you're talking about 4,000 pounds of weight that would just turn him into tomato juice. Okay, so when I went home from work, and respected the men that I worked for the most part. Not always, because when they would do some stupid stuff, but not Joseph and not Yannick. Yannick was a guy named John. These guys worked for me for 11 years every day. Every day there was work. They worked for me for 11 years. So, but Scott is right. When you risk your life and limb and you go home, you appreciate life, and you don't appreciate lazy people. You don't appreciate people that lie. You don't appreciate people that deceive you. You don't appreciate people that are basically worthless and have never accomplished anything in their life. You just don't have the same respect for them. Not everybody can do what we did. That's granted. But don't, and that's okay as well. But don't come off like you're some sort of an accomplished person. We were talking about the hate crew. Nobody in the hate crew has ever proven that they've ever done anything except work for the government. That's $1 billion backup. That's not working for yourself. So anyway, Gary, I got off the subject. If Gary from the Philippines experience, go tell Gary that the hate crew took their video that they promoted his channel off an hour after he commented on my live stream. I think you offended them. You offended the hate crew. All right, so